the aspect, I think the advisors of the Deputy President need also to up their game. One is that, you know, if you advise that the Deputy President that you are elected by 7.2 million Kenyans, you know, that you miss the point. We saw what was happening in Karen. The deputy president then, who is the president now, took like 2 days to decide who will be the running mate, and most of the politicians then were preferring the current minister for CS for Interior, and the president decided, in spite of that preference, that he's going with Rigiji.
Okay, and he had a reason as to why he did that.
But now
that is one of the clips that was actually played in the National Assembly yesterday. But now those reasons
are no longer attainable. So for this country to move forward, you cannot force yourself to be my wife. If I find out that you are no longer, that relationship is no longer attainable.
Okay, when you came together, it was different.
Yeah.
Do you now decide as an individual that it's no longer tenable? Let me come to you before I come to Nurdin. Honorable Ruku, 2 years, and you know this is your coalition. This is your party leader and your deputy party leader. At what point did all just go south between this particular relationship? And was there any opportunity to salvage this relationship?
I remember one thing. Before Ruku comes, the reason we are in this quagmire is because of the 2010 Constitution. Remember, before the 2010 Constitution, the president could wake up and dismiss his vice president. And you can tell in Kenya, there are so many vice presidents and very few presidents. Because a president, in his term, he could hire and fire even five or so.
So then the deputy president, so the deputy president then is justified to say that I was voted in with the president.
No, don't worry first. Yeah. Let us go back to how we are. In terms of when the president feels that they can no longer work with this vice president, the old constitution, he could just wake up and dismiss. Now, the drafters of this constitution, which I believe I still hold the view that it should be amended, brought in a process. So we are only practicing that process that we could have short-circuited had we not gone into the 2010 constitution.
In developed democracies, by now, the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya would have resigned. But since we still have a long way to go as far as our democracy is concerned, that's why this process will still continue in the Senate and probably even in courts.
Should he resign if at all he can even save himself?
You know, you are the principal assistant of the president. You are basically the PA of the president. And if your boss feels that he can't work with you, or if you as the principal assistant of the president feels that your boss is going the wrong direction, that he has completely mistreated you, the only option you have is to step aside, to resign, and you go and do other things. There are so many things which someone can do in this life. So, but since we have a long way to go as a democracy, and that's why also in government, you'll find that a minister who, in his docket, there are issues, but that minister or PS cannot resign until he's fired or until he's impeached or until the pressure is too much. We will get there in future, in coming years, because Kenya is a very vibrant democracy, and as we progress in the coming years, probably we'll be there. You will not see us going backwards. So we are preparing a lot as far as the impeachment of the deputy president is concerned. To summarize it,
my question is,
is that there are 11 counts which were laid down on the floor of the House. 282 members of parliament have agreed with the 11 counts of gross violation of our constitution, and it is no longer tenable for the deputy president to continue holding that high office.
Was there a point where this relationship between him and the boss would have been severed?
Maybe just to fertilize.
Just let him finish first.
The mouth is, I saw the deputy president laboring, indicating how he was told about the issues of demolitions, and he was against, and he read a lot of articles that cabinet decision was going against. The best thing you do at that point, before you exercise that mind of independence, you resign. And you have seen so many governments, the minister, and you just resign before you now explain that. You resign first.
I'm going to come to the lawyer here.
If you see a situation whereby you are spending 2 hours to say you are not corrupt, you are spending 2 hours to say you are not in the wrong footing, you are spending 2 hours to explain to us how truthful you are, I can assure you the opposite is the truth.
But if people are spending 7 hours to debate on your issues, then 2 hours is a drop in the ocean. Let me come to you. Where do we draw the line when it comes to you are the principal assistant to the president, and yet you also have an independent mind? You are Rigathi Gachagua before you are. Before you became the deputy president, you have an independent mind to that particular extent. And there are issues that are happening based on his defense, or now there's some, especially on the issue of going against, cabinet decisions that have already been, the members of the cabinet have sat and they passed this one, but you're like, I can't go with that. And you say, I also have an independent mind. Where do you draw the line there?
Well, the problem is, if we're being honest, the problem is that our politics has no space for independent minds. And that is why you always hear, respect the party leader, respect the party position. That's why people always whipped and panel beaten into a certain voting exercise. If you remember, for example, the Finance Bill, the citizens had said no. But members of parliament, because the president wanted it to pass, they passed it. And then when he said, oh, by the way, I've listened to people, I will not accept this, they were behind him, they clapped. So what does that tell you? Yesterday, when after impeaching Gachagua, they were dancing. They reminded me of a dancer called Waki Dancer. May the Lord rest his soul in peace. So at the end of the day, we have no space for independent minds, and that is a problem. That is why we've always been saying Parliament is more or less captured. And this is a travesty, because I feel that if Parliament is not awake, we'll end up going back to an all-powerful president, which this constitution is checking. We do not want a scenario where Parliament just allows everything to pass just because of numbers. Remember, during Uhuru's time, after the handshake, they had tyranny of numbers. So many things were happening, Even that's why BBI was being forced until the courts had to intervene. So you find yourself in a situation where if members of parliament don't understand the power they yield, and they give out that power to the executive, we'll have a scenario, we'll have an all-powerful president. Draconian bills will be coming to the House and they'll be passing. I'm actually waiting to see how they'll debate the issues. The contentious bill as to the term. I'm waiting to see how that will go, among other things. So, this being aside, for example, because even away from Gachagua, we are being told Gachagua is a tribalist, even your dailies are calling him the tribal chief and it all. Does it mean that now Gachagua, if Senate approves the impeachment, that we have ended tribalism? Does it mean that we have ended corruption? Does it mean that we have ended bad governance? No, because at the end of the day, even the president is an example of that, as per the appointments he has done. So we need to be truthful and honest as a citizen. And that is why sometimes when we see members of parliament, when we castigate members of parliament, I tell myself sometimes we're part and parcel of the problem. Because if someone bought your vote, how do you expect that same person to go and pass anti-corruption bills? So it has to start from you as well. So we find ourselves in a situation where you've asked about resignation. The reason why we are in a country where people would rather die than resign, the famous quote, is because that office comes with a lot of largesse and a lot of comfort. So they feel, I'd rather fight until the last end. That is why he's fighting. You asked why they have this bad relationship, but he's still in office. The same, and that answer the current president has. In the relationship they had with the former president, it wasn't a good relationship, but he stayed there because he knew it is easier for me to ascend to the throne from here than from outside. This office comes with ABC that if I'm not here, I will not get. So it is more or less about self-actualization. So when for example, even when the deputy president says, the mountain has been targeted.
It's
not true, because at the end of the day, it is more or less about him. So that is why they never resign. But if we get to a point where people realize that this is a high calling, for example, because when you talk about, for example, members of parliament saying they've impeached him because of tribalism, can we have an honest conversation as to how
tribalism comes about?
Can we have an honest conversation as to corruption? I am waiting to see if this is confirmed, because there are grounds as to money laundering they were saying. Is there a mechanism that whatever was made will be gotten back to the people? You know, we have a problem where we impeach governors in this country and process of crime just disappear. So this impeachment process becomes useless, because if at all someone is impeached, for example, for stealing X amount of money, and it goes through, once they're out of office, why is the law not followed to make sure whatever they stole is brought back? Because at the end of the day, you end up having cases that will go and get bankrolled somehow. And that is sad travesty. So if at all they have substantiated, and Senate does the same, and he goes home, I am waiting to see the same vigor and valor in, if at all, whatever he has acquired is ill-gotten, if the same will be
there wasn't, there wasn't that particular evidence to prove that.
That's what I'm saying. If it is substantiated, because you see now when they go to Senate, it will be substantiated, and I'm sure after Senate, I can tell you as well, he can decide to go to court again. If at all, whatever Parliament is saying is true, has been accrued in 2 years, and it is ill-gotten wealth, and they have evidence as to the same, then can we have the same amount of money that belongs to the Kenyans come back? I mean, I'm glad they have done this to Gachagua, because they have opened the Pandora's box for each and every public servant, each and every leader that works for the citizenry. Because now, at least now we know what Gachagua owns. We are looking forward to see what they also own, courtesy of the fact that they have opened this. It's a good thing. Nobody is against this. So when you see Kenyans say Kufa development market, doesn't mean they love Gachagua. It means thank you for opening up this Pandora's box.
Because now it is time,
once we switch this off, we switch on the other side.
All right, sir. Let me come to you, David. This particular decision that was arrived at by the National Assembly, how does it now, shape future decisions as far as this is concerned? Because it is historic. This is the first time that we're actually getting to experience this. And you see, members of parliament yesterday, most of them were very glad that they've gotten to this particular point, referring to the constitution, saying we've gotten to exercise this in a way that has never been experienced in the country before. And to some extent, the 13th parliament will be remembered for making a historic move as far as the impeachment of the deputy president is concerned, based on the grounds that were laid in the House, which they say were not nationalistic. Let me come to you. How does this shape the future of decision-making in the National Assembly?
I think it's important that as the representative of the people and also the oversight, the National Assembly, we actually focus on issues that will assist Kenyans. Because if you look at currently, things are moving rather slow in terms of the development, in terms of issues that are coming up. There are a lot of teething problems that we need to address. I believe what the parliament should assist the executive to make sure that there is order in the health sector. It is very paramount. The current teething problems in SHIV and NHIF needs to be smoothened. People and patients need to feel value for money. The other issue that we need to focus on is the issue of the funding model. We are getting a lot of issues. We need to know for our students who are in the universities and technical colleges. We need actually to come up with an agreeable formula that will actually let our students study in the universities and in the technical colleges. We have issues in terms of the agricultural sector. There are so many issues that we need to sort.
But and that's the thing, because a lot of people are saying there's quite a lot of issues that need to be focused on. Why the heck are we focusing, forgive my term, why are we focusing on the impeachment of one individual, that is Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua, instead of focusing on the issues that are affecting the nation?
Of course, if you have number one not in terms with number two, each one will be pulling on their sides and the things will not be moving. What I wanted to say is that it is high time also, Brian, that we tell ourselves the truth. we need to relook at this constitution. We need to relook at this constitution because we borrowed a lot from developed countries, but we didn't culturalize. We didn't custom made to suit our behaviors. I cannot say our bad behaviors or something like that. So we need a constitution that actually is customized to suit our behavior. From where I am sitting, the deputy president should be appointed by the president after the election when he is appointing the cabinet. And he should be able to dismiss that deputy president, that vice president at will. That's one. Secondly, we need to relook at what is always at the tipping point in every election cycle. The tipping point is this thing called 50+1. This 50+1, it makes an election so competitive, we always end up into a Supreme Court, and all the pastors and everyone prays that the country remains one. Why don't we remove this 50+1? Let the popular candidate do his magic. Whoever emerges number one becomes the president. Secondly, let us also look at what we are now doing, trying to make a country run. We have an opposition who refuses to accept the vote. Why don't we create the leader of opposition leader? Okay, so that immediately
at the end of the day, the opposition always finds itself in government.
Now we have the issue of the prime minister. We are trying to give him names like cabinet secretary. Why don't we make it in our constitution so that we have all these posts in the constitution? We modernize our constitution to suit our behavior.
But you just say
our
behavior seems to be evolving every now and then. So even if you do that, to some extent, you just find a reason why you need the deputy and deputy.
The constitution is not made for man. Man makes the constitution to suit him. We have our behaviors that we have shown every election. After every election, how we behave,
so that we make it to suit our bad behavior, or we make it.
By the way, in this constitution, may I finish? In this constitution, we waste every election cycle. We waste 2 years. We waste 2 years trying to govern, and the losers trying to uncover, and by the time we now get the car going, bringing the opposition, things like this, so that the car can go. Because in Kenya, I don't know the reason why the opposition will not want to eat the cold outside there. All of them wants to be
that we were 2 years trying to govern. So then I'm seeing you supporting the extension of term limits, because the argument is that 5 years is not enough to do that.
Of course, now you have seen 2 years. I've gone Sufuria, Barabarani, Sijui Nini. So let us tell ourselves.
No.
Brian, let us agree.
Honorable, as we wind up on this conversation.
Let us agree first that we have a problem in this constitution. It is not suiting us. It is not suiting our behavior.
No, human beings are the problem. The constitution
there was an argument that the full implementation of this constitution has actually not happened. If we actually wanted to implement it in its totality, then maybe
that every student reads and he cannot understand. You do away with the book and you bring another book that people can understand.
The constitution, yes, has loopholes, but have we implemented it fully? No, we haven't. So why do you want to amend something that you have not implemented? It doesn't make sense. Okay. And the fraction that has an issue is not larger than what is okay. So at the end of the day, implement the constitution first. Do not implement it to suit the political class. This constitution was drafted to suit the public.
The public.
So the political class will always feel aggrieved by it, because anywhere in the world, even if anywhere in the world, a constitution that does not favor the political class is always amended. So I do believe, yes, it has issues, but implement it first. The small issues we will sort, but issues of governance as to prime cabinet secretary, opposition leader, that's neither here nor there.
Okay. All right. As we wind up, Honorable Ruku, how does this shape the future of decision making, especially in the House, from where you sit? This particular decision that was arrived at yesterday by the National Assembly.
One, the members of Parliament have stood with the Constitution of the Republic of Kenya. That all of us are under the Constitution of the Republic of Kenya, and we have to abide by the Constitution. The only person who cannot be taken to court when we're in office is the President of the Republic. But also the President can be impeached in case he commit gross violation, of the Constitution. That has come out clearly as far as yesterday impeachment motion is concerned. And moving forward, we as members of parliament, we are going to be very, very strict. The taxpayers must get the value of their money. Any scandal in government must be brought to book, if there is any. And the members of parliament, I think, are re-energized by this motion to ensure we oversight any government institution, any private entity in the Republic, any operations going on in the Republic for the benefit of the people of the Republic of Kenya.
There's an argument that the bar has already been set as far as, looking at Chapter 6 of the Constitution when it comes to matters to do with integrity, issues to do with corruption. And, we live in a country where most of these issues will always find their way on the table, especially on the floor of the House. Yes. And in most cases, what has been able to be experienced in the past is that has made the House lose favor with the people, as that it seems that they are never taken into consideration or with the seriousness that they deserve. Will this change that right now? If a member of the cabinet comes to the floor with issues to do with corruption in their docket, are you going to vote party lines, or you're going to vote?
If you remember, the impeachment motion for CS Rinturi was brought in the House, and the House made a decision to impeach Rinturi. But according to the standing orders, after the impeachment motion of a cabinet secretary is passed, it goes to a committee of 11, and 11 members were nominated by the parties. Those 11 members went for their sittings, and they decided that they are not going to stand with the majority of the members of parliament, or members of the National Assembly.
All right.
So the thing is, National Assembly demonstrated that Rinturi and committed gross violation of the Constitution. But 11 members, and it is per the standing orders of the National Assembly. And once they decide the matter cannot proceed, it is dead. Okay. So I think we are, as members of the National Assembly, we continue standing with the provision of the Constitution, and we will continue siding with the Kenyan population. Okay. And as I've said, you'll be seeing very tough motions moving forward. Hopefully. As far the issues of health is concerned, because health is critical in our society. And the issues of education is concerned.
We hope that when
education is so critical in our nation.
When they come to the floor, they actually, debate it and resolve within a short time, because in most cases they take a lot of time in that particular house.
No. The provision of the standing orders is always time is stipulated. Where matters stay for wrong is in our court. The justice administration system can take even years, can take even 5 years. But in National Assembly and the Senate, there are provision of the number of days. For instance, once the Speaker of the National Assembly notify the Senate, the Speaker of the Senate, it should stay for 10 days. All right. Or less. Okay. Maximum of 10 days.
Joseph Losha here says, does the impeachment of the DP solve Adani deal, social health insurance fund shift, extrajudicial killings, abductions, the newly university funding model, fuel prices, employments of JSS teachers, impact of the cost of living, the T-sector reforms? I think it's time we focus on serious issues, focusing the common mwananchi. And that is one thing that somebody is noting, and most of these things that they are noting came before the issue of the impeachment. I'll be tabling a petition to disband bursaries and replace it with free basic education. This is Pamphil J. Omondi. Thank you so much for your feedback. Let me see if we can get... you have convicted, this is iAfrica Rashid, you have convicted our Daniel because you want to steal from us without no one to say no. Chumaenu Kimotoni. This is a... talking to members of parliament. Evans Nyarango Nyatika says, trying to redeem themselves from the traps. 2027 August, come home mapema sana nyote. Are you by any chance worried that it might have sealed your fate, especially you coming from the Mount Kenya region? I don't know.
You have to do the right thing. You have to stand with the right side of the law. You have to be within your... you are conscious, knowing that you represent people. I represent a very marginalized community. Right. And when anybody, a state officer, is as smart of arrogance as far as numbers are concerned, that a small community like Bere cannot get services from the government because we are few in terms of tribe, then that person, the people I represent, I think, and I'm sure, they cannot work with such a person.
Okay.
Because of the numbers.
No. All right.
Every Kenyan, regardless of the size of your tribe, you have the right to be to enjoy the services of your government.
Okay, I'm out of time.
That is roads, water, electricity,
because I want
good
to
schools.
Wind up.
1 second, I'll just say, I think the fate of this house was sealed on 25th of June 2024 with a vote of no confidence. Okay. So Kenyans are neither here nor there about the impeachment.
All right.
Their fate was sealed and they're trying to save face, but it was sealed, and that's why they're saying constitute IBC. Now you see the process next. Okay,
Simon Karengo says, was that public participation or just a formality? Of course, there. Thank you so much for your feedback here on the program. We do appreciate that. Don't take it for granted. Like, you'll be part of the program in engaging us on our socials at K24 across social media platforms. So we continue the conversation on the impeachment that is historic and seems to be shaping the future of the political space in the country. Away from that, now this is the thing. You see, it's just to do with the defilement as subjects that we don't get to have a conversation on mostly. But this Sunday here at Media Max, we get to confront one of society's darkest truth. Now we'll be having a hard-hitting conversation on the harsh realities of children that are born out of defilement. This is a story of pain, a story of resilience, and we get to see stories of hope. So we ask you to kindly join us as we uncover the untold stories, the psychological scars, and the relentless fight for dignity. We'll be catching DocuBox this Sunday at 5 p.m. only on K24 and Kameme TV. All right. That does it for us here on the program. Of course, David Kiplagat, who is a member of Parliament, so Honorable Geoffrey Ruku, Member of Parliament, Mberere, thank you so much for coming, gentlemen. And of course, Nudin Kagai, thank you so much. You are the first one to come. I'm going to give you that. Shukran for coming here on set. And of course, thank you so much for engaging us on our socials at K24 TV. Continue the conversation about the Deputy President's impeachment, of course. Yes, this particular conversation continues here on K24, right? Do have yourselves a lovely morning, and see you when I see you in just a few minutes.